Game Stuff Podcast. As always, I'm your host, William Liberty, and with me is...
Fawwaz Muhammad Yusuf.
And today we got some stuff. We got PlayStation Plus, we got Xbox One games coming out this month. We've got The Father of Pac-Man dies at age 91. We've got The Elder Scrolls Online Morrowind expansion. We've got Final Fantasy 12 release date announced. We've got the Nilfgaard patch coming on the 6th of February. We've got some Mass Effect multiplayer details from a pre-order trailer. A little bit of speculation, but I'm still going to go into it. Ukulele, and then finally, Ukulele has gone gold. Before we get into that, let's talk about what we played this week. So I had an interesting plan for this week. So I've been thinking of, like, Fawwaz has been posting videos on the channel about, like, Bloodborne guides, a lot of Overwatch stuff, right? So I want to start posting a little more of my stuff that I could, add to the channel as well. And I had a plan of, like, doing, like, attempts on Binding of Isaac, which is a roguelike game. It's really hard. It's got a really creepy art style, but it's a really fun game, And I'd never beaten it before. So my plan was that I was going to film myself attempting to beat the game and just, post it on the channel. And what proceeded to happen is that I ended up beating the game in my second run of practice. and then I also beat it a second time. And I just kind of went, Because it's weird, because this is a game that kicked my ass back in the day. Like, it was almost impossible for me to even get close to the end. So I was really genuinely shocked that I was able to beat it. Although I might end up just posting some videos of Binding of Isaac anyway, because it's a fun game. And I'll see what I can do. If you guys are interested, chime in the comments if you think that'd be a cool thing to see. Because I'd be happy to do that. But that's basically what I played this week. I jumped back into Overwatch as always. I jumped back into Overwatch. Got a couple new skins from some packs. Played more Capture the Rooster. I have changed my mind a bit on Capture the Rooster. I really don't think it's that great of a mode. And I think, honestly, it's not that the fact... It's multiple different things that I don't like about it, but honestly, I think the biggest problem is the map design. Is that because Capture the Flag is such a really odd mode for Overwatch, in particular, it has to be kind of something like, when 3v3 launched, it has its own specific map, right?
Yeah.
I feel like Capture the Flag needs its own specific map to work, because currently what they're doing is that they're using a slightly modified versions, not much, but like slightly modified versions of the Chinese maps. And some of them work fine, but others are like, they're just ridiculous. Like, they're just absolutely ridiculous with how close the flags are. The fact that the flag, you don't need your flag doesn't have to be in the in your base in order to cap. And the biggest problem I have with the game is that, to be honest, is that there's a mentality where a lot of people, they just sort of sit and defend their flag, and then nobody captures a flag, and then it turns into a draw. So, I don't know. There's a lot of things that I think they need to fix to make this game a little bit more fun. But other than that, that's really what I played this week. But what about you, Fawwaz? What did you play?
So one of my friends, I have this group of friends who I'm in a group chat with on WhatsApp, and one of them, they always look at me in awe because I've beaten Dark Souls and I've beaten Bloodborne, and I'm like, those games are really not that difficult, and they're like, oh my god, and I'm like, guys, it's really not. But anyway, one of them, he finally picked up Bloodborne, and he was talking about how the game is really difficult, and he was messaging me asking me for tips. So I was like, honestly, the game isn't hard, it just doesn't tell you shit. So like, once you learn all the stuff about the game, it's really, really easy. So I decided to bust out the old Bloodborne. I downloaded it again. Because for me, I figured that Father Gascoigne is the cutoff point. Like I feel like if you get past Gascoigne, you can't be.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think the difficulty spike between the Cleric Beast and Gascoigne. There's nothing even remotely similar for the rest of the game, in my opinion. Not counting the DLC. Yeah, let's not even go there. So for me, I'm like that. Yeah, if you can beat Gascoigne, you can beat the rest of the game. So I made a guide all the way up to Gascoigne. Unfortunately so it's funny because obviously I was breaking it up into parts. The first part was me just getting back to grips with it because I hadn't played the game in so long.
Yeah.
Then the second part, I tried the Cleric Beast for the first time, got my ass kicked. And the third part was where I beat the Cleric Beast, and I got to where Gascoigne was. And then the fourth part was me beating Gascoigne. However, I forgot to record during the third part, so there's no actual footage of me beating the Cleric Beast. And then I had to then watch the second part and the fourth part to then try to figure out what I forgot to record, the pieces that are missing, and then re-record that after the fact. And it was really embarrassing and unprofessional, but whatever.
Happens to the best of us, man. It's all
Yeah,
good.
yeah, but yeah. Other than that, I also started playing a little bit of ranked Overwatch.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm a full-blown Reinhardt player now because Reinhardt's really important. Like it's not even that he's. I mean, I think he's the best primary tank in the game. Of course, there's only 2 primary tanks in the game, so he doesn't have much competition. But I think he's hands down the best. I think he's the best tank in the game, period. And like the thing with Reinhardt is that he just makes things so much easier. Like you can successfully run Winston as your main tank, but it requires so much more coordination than just picking this dude with a giant 2000 HP shield and just walking behind the payload. That and this isn't to say that playing Reinhardt doesn't need coordination. I'm actually surprised at how much coordination playing Reinhardt requires. But yeah, so I guess I'm a full blown Reinhardt player now because I'm playing comp with these dudes. And they're always like, just play Reinhardt. Like every match, we log in, and I'm like, hey guys, I want to play Zarya this game, and they're like, but we need Reinhardt, please, and I'm like, oh, for God's sake. So they're like, you're such a good Reinhardt, and I'm like, I'm really not. I've played him for like 2 weeks. But yeah, I guess at this point I'm a full-on Reinhardt main. So next thing, I gotta pick up one of his amazing legendaries. And I do need to, like, if I'm serious about playing ranked and playing Reinhardt, I'm gonna need to like practice him and learn to, because I'm really bad. It's funny because I guess, and this might just be me because I'm overly critical of my play all the time, right? I think I'm just honest about my play, right? I miss a lot of charges. Like I miss so many charges. And to be fair, like, and this just adds to the reason why I always say that Ana is one of the most overpowered characters in this entire game. Like the number of times I've missed a charged into the middle of 4 people and gotten out alive because of Ana, it's just like,
yeah,
how is this even a thing? Yeah, like it's ridiculous. And this is the nerfed version of Ana. But yeah, that's the Bloodborne and Overwatch. I'm gonna be posting a lot more Reinhardt footage online. It's mostly gonna be ranked footage because I don't play it in solo queue. It's an exercise in frustration. Heck, even in my coordinated ranked games, there was this one game where we ran into a bastion, and then like they're like, okay, cool, let's push this choke point, right? And I'm like, that's actually a good plan. Like I'm not being sarcastic here.
Yeah.
I'm like, it was an amazing plan, except for the fact that it pushed the choke point while I was dead.
Oh no!
And I'm just looking at the kill feed, and the whole team just gets mowed down by damage boosted Bastion. And I'm like, oh my god! So I had to scold them. I was like, guys, don't why am I picking Reinhardt if you guys are walking in front of me? Seriously, I'm just gonna switch to Zarya because I just
yeah.
Or so anyway, I'm rambling now. But yeah. Bloodborne. I made up to that point. If my friend, if he makes it to Gascoigne and he beats him and he's like that, could you make more? I'll make more. I was having fun playing Bloodborne because Bloodborne's a fun game. I just don't have any reason to play it anymore, right? But
you should mention to him that if he's having trouble with Gascoigne, he should get the music box. as
Oh no,
well?
I made I included all of that in the guide.
Okay, yeah,
Did
yeah.
I include it in the part that I forgot to save though?
You
Well,
may want to double check that.
yeah, but yeah, I included all of that in the guide. I hate that side quest though. It breaks my heart every time. But
Oh,
yeah, I
it's
included
rough.
that in the guide. At least I think I did. And at the very least, in the video of me beating Gascoigne, I used the music box to make his third phase like so
Yeah,
free,
because his
so
third phase
unbelievable.
is rough.
His third phase can be because, like, first of all, you like if you can't, you need either the music box or you need to be able to parry. Like, I don't think you can beat his third phase without one or the other.
Yeah.
Like, I beat it without parrying because I just used the music box. But like, I like because when you use the music box, he gets stunned. You go up behind him, you backstab him, you repost. Then by the time he gets up, you hit him with a cocktail, and he's dead. Like,
Yeah.
at least he died for me. But like, otherwise, because I died to him a couple times because it's Gascoigne.
Yeah.
The second time that I died to him, I was trying to use the music box, but he wasn't giving me room. He just
Right.
kept. And then I'd like run and I tried to heal. And then he dived on me, and I was like, "Oh my god!" I'd forgotten how aggressive he was.
Oh, he's aggressive.
But
He's
yeah,
such a fascinating boss in that game, because like
yeah,
you there aren't many. Surprisingly enough, there aren't many bosses that are just hunter bosses. You know, like just flat out just I am just a really badass hunter. So like
yeah,
there is a couple for sure, but man, yeah, Gascoigne is definitely an awesome boss.
yeah. It's a really good boss. Yeah, I always prefer the hunter bosses. They are the most difficult for me because like the big burly bosses is just learn the pattern and just be patient. But
Mm-hmm.
like I prefer the hunter bosses because it's so fast paced and it's
Mm-hmm.
exciting and I love them. I absolutely love the hunter bosses. The cricket, the bloody crow of Canehurst, I love that boss. That boss
Oh,
is brutal, but like it's the fights is my palms are always so sweaty
yeah,
during that boss battle.
it is
But
pretty.
yeah, that's what I played this week. So yeah, you want to get into some news?
Yeah, let's get into some news. Well, first off, let's get a little bit of a sadder topic out of the way. Unfortunately, the father of Pac-Man, he died at age 91 on January 22nd. So that's another one to add to the list of very influential game designers that we're slowly losing over time. So that really,
Yeah,
yeah, it really does suck. I did I am glad to see that it's like it's a lot of people they know who this person is and they know the significance of how he affected the game industry. I mean, he was the father of Pac-Man. Like Pac-Man is like one of the biggest video game icons ever. Like
yeah.
everyone knows who Pac-Man is. So
Everyone, I think even my dad knows who Pac-Man is.
yeah,
Yeah, but I mean, he made it all the way to 91, which is
which is
um,
pretty good for
yeah.
anyone.
Yeah, and yeah, he was the CEO. He was one of the founders, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of the founders of Namco. Yeah, he was a founder of Namco and he was the CEO of Namco for a little while. But yeah, it sucks. But the unfortunate truth is that this is going to become the norm going forward because
Yeah.
gaming is young. Like video games are a relatively young hobby and
Right.
they were made by young people at the time. But as video gaming gets older, a lot of the founding fathers of video games are gonna
Mm-hmm.
start getting older, and as is death and taxes,
Yep.
eventually it's gonna start coming for all of them. So it is really sad, and it reminds you of the sad truth that this is going to become the norm as we start getting older. More and more of those
Mm-hmm.
iconic video game developers are going to start passing away. But
Yeah.
yeah, the father of Pac-Man. That is not a that is a very very awesome title to have,
Yeah.
and um,
Sad to see. It makes me think of like when we talked about Iwata's passing. It's just like yeah, that's like yeah. It makes me worried for some of the really other older designers. I always have trouble pronouncing his name, but Edgy, the guy who one of the guys responsible for Zelda, he's getting pretty old too. And
Let me see. Father of Zelda. Let's just look that up real quick. Because I know who you're talking about, but I can't.
I pronounced his name horribly wrong. I apologize.
Oh, she. Oh, IG on IG
Yeah,
Onuma.
yeah, Onoma. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's only 53. Calm yourself, Tana.
I'm worried now. I'm worried about it all constantly. It's like, no. What would happen to Zelda?
You know, it's funny. I actually thought Shigeru Miyamoto was the father of Zelda.
It's kind of both. It's kind of both. They were both responsible.
Yeah. You know, Miyamoto is older than Aonuma by like a lot.
How old is Miyamoto?
Miyamoto is 64.
Holy crap! Yeah.
Yeah, he's like 11 years older than this guy. But this dude,
God damn.
dude is great. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's. Whew. All right. Well.
Anyway, this
is an odd series of events.
our,
But yeah, no, definitely sad, and we we wish everyone the best of luck. And
rest in peace to Nakamura.
Yeah.
In more positive news, and we wanted to get the the negative news out of the way because we're a pretty upbeat podcast. I like to think. Well, when I'm not ranting about everything. I think we're a pretty upbeat podcast. So we wanted to get the sad news out of the way. So bouncing back from that sad piece of news is some really positive news, and that's that the list of PlayStation Plus games for February have been announced, and Little Big Planet 3 and Not a Hero are two games that I've had my eye on. Well, okay, I love Little Big Planet. Like I love Little Big Planet 2. It's a lot of fun, and Little Big Planet 3 is because when I heard that Media Molecule wasn't doing it, I was like, okay, you guys aren't gonna get any of my money. Plus, it was very buggy when it launched. There were like game-breaking bugs.
Right.
But hopefully, I'm assuming it's been patched since then. And even if it hasn't been patched, I'll take it for free. I'll definitely take it for free. At the very least, Little Big Planet 3, because everything with Little Big Planet 2 is backwards compatible on 3, right? So you can play all my DLC, all the costumes. I bought some really cool Pirates of the Caribbean costumes for my SAC people. All those costumes are usable. All the levels on Little Big Planet 2, all the user-made levels are playable. Right. And so I'm definitely looking forward to trying this out. The other game, the other big PS4 game is Not a Hero. It's made by the people who made Ollie Ollie, the skateboarding game, and it's like a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up type game. Definitely, whenever I see one of these types of games, I'm like, okay, maybe this will recapture the magic that Hotline Miami gave me. So I'm gonna give this a try as well. Yep. The rest of the games are odd. They're very indie.
They're very
like
indie.
Not a Hero is an indie game, but a lot of these games are like indie games. Like I would be surprised if like this Ninja X Senki DX wasn't developed by two people. I'll be very surprised.
To be fair, there is one game that we are super excited for.
Yes, Star Wars. So I look up this game and I'm like, what the hell is this? So then I Google it and I look at the image and I'm like, wait a minute, this looks familiar. And it turns out our mutual sound design teacher, Mike Keogh, was the sound designer on this game. So yeah shout outs to Mike. And I'm not gonna be playing this game. No offense, Mike. I just no.
I'm gonna be playing this game. Hell yeah! It's a fun ass game. Although, to be fair, I remember Mike discussing at one point that he put all this work, I think, into a different game. It was like meant to be this big, expansive, like RPG adventure game. It just didn't get any traction. He said, "Yep, that's about right. I put all this effort into this game, and the game I'm going to be remembered for is a bunch of space narwhals and a bunch of like phallic jokes."
Oh, by the way, sorry, I mixed some of the games up. Ninja Senki DX is a very old school side scroller. Like it looks like something straight out of the NES or SNES. I'm gonna actually check this out. It looks pretty cool. It's not on the Vita though, because wait. No, it is on the Vita. Sorry. It is AXTNNAEEN Dead Edition. Like, who the fuck comes up with these names?
These names are perfect. Nothing wrong with them. I don't know what you're talking about.
Torque L. I think Torque L is the one. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Torque L is like, just Google this game. It's very blocky and simplistic, and it's it's interesting.
It's
but
definitely
yeah,
interesting.
I'm
I'm actually pretty happy with this month overall.
Yeah, same here. Cannot complain at all.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can. I won't. I think it's a really good month. You know, like Little Big Planet 3 is the kind of game that I've always been like, why isn't this on PlayStation Plus? I could probably find the game for $5 now. You know, like like hook us up, so you know you're not losing a great deal on it, and it's the kind of, and it's a multiplayer game. I'm always appreciative of when they put multiplayer games on PlayStation Plus, because you know it just helps the community. You know, there's nothing worse than having a really fun multiplayer game that nobody else is playing.
Yeah.
So you know it helps the community out, and everybody wins. I feel, you know, like especially if it's a multiplayer game with a lot of DLC. Like Little Big Planet is the perfect PlayStation Plus game because it's a multiplayer game with a crap ton of DLC. So even being free does not necessarily mean that the developers are going to be losing money, because they make so much money off of like costume packs and you know DLC packs. So shout out to Sony.
Yeah, like I was gonna say that like if I'm gonna probably download this game, but if I enjoy it enough, then I'm probably going to immediately buy the Dark Souls DLC.
How does this? What? I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't understand either how that happened, but apparently they decided, hey, Dark Souls is popular enough that we need to give it...
Oh, you mean Dark Souls DLC in Little Big Planet?
Yes, that's what I meant by that.
Okay. Yeah, because like the logic, you're like, oh, if I enjoy Little Big Planet 3, then I'm gonna buy Dark Souls 3's DLC.
Oh,
and I'm like, I don't see the connection, Tanner, at all. Actually,
there's quite the connection, you see.
But no, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. There's a pretty cool looking Dark Souls DLC. I think Onion Knight. Yeah. Oh my god.
Well, that's why
so
I want to jump around with Little Big Planet Onion Knight.
Oh my god. I might actually buy this DLC. That is the most adorable. You see, this is how they get you.
This is how they get you.
This is how they get you. These assholes. Look at this. Look at the little sack praising the sun. Oh my god.
That's the best. But yeah, no, pretty good stuff.
Microsoft. Yeah. The Xbox Live Games Gold were also announced, and they're not as good. Personally, I would say Sony, quote unquote, won this month, even though it's not actually a competition. You know, they're literally not competing against each other. But Microsoft, they got Project Cars, which is a really good game and one of the most successful Kickstarter games ever, I think. Yeah. Lovers in a Dangerous Space Time, which is it's an indie game. It's an interesting looking indie game. Star Wars: The Force Unleashed, which was never as good as I wanted it to be, and then Monkey Island 2.
Yeah. To be fair, like Monkey Island is like it's a point and click game. So.
Yeah. So if you're into that kind of thing, more power to you. I am not. So I will not be picking that up. But yeah, not a bad month for both. Not a bad month for both consoles. Although this is one of those rare months where I'm so glad I own a PS4 versus an Xbox One.
Yep.
And yeah, this is not a bad start to the year, because January stuff, sure, it wasn't crazy. We didn't have like a Little Big Planet 3 type game, but we had Titan Souls. I think Titan Souls came
this.
In January.
We also had This War of Mine.
Yeah, This War of Mine. I downloaded it. I haven't played it yet. But I downloaded it, and I'm definitely planning on picking it up. So, you know, shout out to Sony. Not a bad month at all.
That's really the key here, is that we just is like, I want more consistent months like this, you know?
Yeah. You know, I'm not even. Here's the thing for me, is that even if I don't like the AAA game that is being offered, I will at least give them props for giving us a AAA game, you know. And if it's something like this where we get one AAA game and then a bunch of indies, I'm fine with that, you know. Like I'm perfectly fine with that. So yeah, man. Like Sony, you know, step your shit up. Keep it coming.
Keep it coming. But next on our list, we've got the Elder Scrolls Online Morrowind expansion. So they announced a huge big expansion coming to the Elder Scrolls Online, and it looks pretty interesting. They're definitely adding a bunch of new stuff. They're adding a new class, Was it the Seeker or the Sentinel?
The Warden.
The Warden. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I knew I was close.
Anyway, they're adding a new class. They're adding a new area, obviously.
Yes.
Vardenfall?
Yeah.
How do you pronounce double V's?
Just emphasize the.
I'm just gonna pronounce it like a W because it looks like a W. Wardenfall. And then we're getting the Warden, so I'm gonna assume that that's how it's pronounced. So,
sure,
yeah.
Why not? V equals W. That makes sense.
V equals W. There we go. There's also gonna be a new fast-paced 4v4 PvP mode, which reads, here's the code. Our new Battlegrounds PvP mode will introduce fast-moving 3-team battles in smaller arena-like environments. Elder Scrolls Online existing open-world PvP battles in Cyrodiil will remain, but now you can head to the Ashlands to showcase your close-quarter combat skills and declare yourself the greatest fighter in all of Tamriel. Yeah, and then the expansion is launching on the 6th of June. There's a full-on physical edition that comes with an art book, a dwarven colossus statue, which looks pretty cool, and a bunch of digital stuff. You get armor.
You get the horse armor, baby. Yeah.
You get some horse armor, some armor for your
They must know. They must know at this point. Like, they don't care.
They do. I know Todd Howard is so sick of that joke, because I remember there was this one time he was demoing Skyrim, and there was a horse, and the person he was demoing it with was like, "But what about that horse armor?" And he didn't even laugh. He just ignores the guy and keeps doing the demo. So not only do they know, I'm sure they're just sick of it at this point. So you also get a dwarven spider pet, Morag tongue converter. I have no idea what that means. You get a gray bear and you get some character emotes. But overall, not everyone loves Morrowind. I think Morrowind is probably the most loved Elder Scrolls.
I know that a lot of people really
So there's always going to be that bias towards that area. I'd imagine that for the people who are enjoying the Elder Scrolls, this is going to be this is cool. This is good stuff, and looking forward to hearing more of this.
Well,
that's not true. I don't actually care, and I just want to hear about the Elder Scrolls 6 at this point. But
you want an Elder Scrolls 6 announced at this point. That's what you want.
Yeah. Let me stop lying to myself. I don't actually care.
Well, honestly, it's not that. It's like I'm happy for the people that enjoy this game. It's just, honestly, there was never anything in the Elder Scrolls Online that drew me in. Like, to be perfectly honest, I was always like, I prefer Elder Scrolls as a single-player game, and adding multiplayer to it just didn't really impress me. And when it came out, I was like, okay, this is going to be, like, it was exactly what I expected it to be. It was like, okay, this game's going to come out, and it's going to be a mediocre MMO, because this is their first time doing this, and sometimes certain games don't mix well into the MMO genre, and it kind of just became that. Which is a shame, because it's like, when you have an IP like Elder freaking Scrolls, there's a lot you can do with an MMO. But it's just it was one of those things where it's like they didn't have a clear idea of what they were doing, so it just kind of came out mediocre, which is a shame.
I think it's pretty popular though.
It's still very popular, don't get me wrong, and there is definitely an audience for it. It's just for me, when I saw it, I was like, my favorite MMO I've ever played is Guild Wars 2. And I was looking at it, and I was like, this doesn't have stuff that Guild Wars 2 has, and it's like, there's things that I clearly look lackluster, and I don't know. Honestly, I was kind of like, because one of the things I liked about this is a problem that a lot of MMOs have. It's very difficult to make you feel like you're an important part of the grand story when there are 1,000 people behind you in line who are talking to the mighty deity god, But I don't know. I mean, to be fair, I'm sure that this will come out and it will be a good addition to the Elder Scrolls Online. But I am kind of with you where it's like, I just want to see 6. I want to see 6.
To be fair, I haven't finished Fallout 4 yet, so
Yeah,
maybe I'm not the person.
I need to go back because I'm getting closer to the end. I came back and I did a bunch of quests, but then I stopped because I was just, oh great, another game just came out. I don't know. I need to finish that.
Yeah, you also need to finish The Witcher 2.
Yeah, add that to the list. But our next piece of news, we got Final Fantasy 12 gets its release date, July 11th.
July 11th. So Final Fantasy 12 is a very interesting chapter in the Final Fantasy history, for a number of reasons. One being that it's like in terms of gameplay, it is such a change because it's real time combat.
Yeah.
There's no random battles. You're walking through a battlefield and you see some enemies that you don't like their faces. You walk up to them and you're like, "What's good?" You know, that's how the combat goes. It's not just walking. And I hate random battles, so I'm glad to hear that. But on top of that, it's one of the more critically acclaimed Final Fantasies that no one played because of when it came out. It came out toward the end of the PS2's life cycle and right as when the PS3 was coming out, so it got hit with the Persona 4, where it came out right as people were moving on to the next generation consoles, and as a result, it didn't enjoy the kind of critical acclaim that it didn't enjoy the kind of commercial success that. Actually, scratch all of that. It sold a lot in its first week, and I don't actually know what I'm talking about.
Okay, well here's the difference though. Okay, I see what you're getting at, and yeah, it's a little. This is fact checking live. But the thing that I do feel like about Final Fantasy 12 is that it's in this odd place where I know a lot of people they say it's good and they say that they fondly remember it, but there's. I feel like it's one of those like kind of like less talked about Final Fantasies, you know? Like a lot of people talk about like
I don't know what I'm talking about.
A lot of people talk about like 10, you know, a lot of people talk about like obviously talk about 7. I know a lot of people who talk about 6. But
talk about 13, you know?
Yeah, maybe not so in a positive light, but they certainly talk about it. But yeah, Final Fantasy 12 kind of gets a little less talked about. I do know that some people complained about the active combat because they said it was a little bit not balanced. But I have heard that this remastered version is supposed to kind of rebalance the game, which makes me interested because apparently that was part of the problem, was that there was some problems with the combat system. And how things worked in the combat system, and apparently that has been retweaked and rebalanced for the new version, which makes me excited because it's like a revamp. You know?
Yeah. Okay. And just a quick update on the sales thing. So because I looked at it, because as I was saying it, I was like, you know what? I haven't actually looked this up yet. So while I was saying it, I looked it up, and so it sold 1.7 million copies in its first week in Japan, almost equaling the sales of Final Fantasy X. And Final Fantasy X was a resounding commercial success, right?
Right.
As of November 2009, over 6 million copies of this game have been sold worldwide. So yeah, like it wasn't because Final Fantasy X sold about 10, I think.
Yeah.
So it didn't sell as much as 10, but it sold a lot. So just clearing that up, just throwing that out there. But yes, I do agree with you, and you phrased it better. It's despite it selling a lot and despite it getting, because I'm looking at the critical reception here, and it's insane. Edge magazine, who were one of the hardest graders in video games, gave it a 9 out of 10, and it was their game of the year. It won a bunch of game of the years. It's got a 92 on Metacritic. Its lowest score is an 8 by Game Trailers. People love this game. Well, reviewers love this game. So for how critically acclaimed it was, it's not spoken about as much. So this is good. I'm glad this is happening. I'm also glad it's coming out in July. We haven't actually listed the release date yet. July 11th in North America and Europe, July 13th in Japan and Asia. I'm also glad it's coming out in July because I don't have anything that I plan on getting over the summer. I mean, I might still be playing Persona 5 by this time. Who knows?
I certainly will. I'm going to be juggling 5 and Mass Effect at the same fucking time.
Because for me, I'm like, Persona 5 comes out right as summer starts, so I might just not sleep for a week and finish the entire game, and then just move on.
That's fair.
But yeah, it's coming out at what I think is a very good time. it's coming out in July. There's not a lot of big games coming out in July right now anyway. Who knows what gets pushed back, but there's not a lot of big games coming out in July. So like for me, I don't know if it's gonna be a full priced game.
I think it's probably gonna be maybe 30, 40, depending. It's probably gonna be the same price range as 10-2 was.
Oh, okay,
Sorry,
yeah,
sorry, not
yeah,
10.
yeah, that's
Sorry,
actually a good,
10 and
that's a
10-2, like the combo game. But honestly, I'm really excited for this because I ended up buying Final Fantasy X, the HD remaster on a whim. I was like, yeah, sure, why not? So I picked it up, and I had an absolute blast playing through it. It was a lot of fun. It was a really weird, goofy game, but I had a lot of fun playing it, and I was at when I finished it, I was like, oh man, I wish I could just keep playing it. I wish there was more stuff, Um, and like I'm really excited to try out 12 because I know a lot of people they say like, yeah, 12 was the last good Final Fantasy game, and then it all went downhill. And then 15 kinda saved it, and 14 Realm Reborn has kinda saved it, but we still need a it's the most. I think most people say that it's the most like least flawed Final Fantasy game to come out.
Okay.
Because I know a lot of people, even though a lot of people I've talked to about 15, that they say they really enjoy it and they say it's a lot of fun, but the game unfortunately has some pretty big flaws in it, which is a shame. But considering that the game was in development hell, I mean, I kind of had a feeling that there were going to be some fucked up parts of that game, no matter
I mean,
what.
that just happens when a game's been in development for that long. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, Final Fantasy 12, July 11th.
Mm-hmm.
Looking forward to it.
Looking
Looking
forward
forward
to
to
it.
it. You know what else I'm looking forward
Oh,
to,
what are you looking
Tanner?
for? Gwent.
Yep. So after so much teasing and so much anticipation, they finally revealed the what I'm assuming is going to be the last faction,
Yeah.
or at the last faction for a very long time, because they've
Right.
been Nilfgaard. So the patch with the new faction Nilfgaard is coming on the 6th of February, which is Monday. Well, it'll it'll be like 4 days ago by the time you hear this podcast,
Right. Right.
but
Right.
it's tomorrow for us. And yeah, it's I'm excited. I'm excited. So I mean, it comes with a bunch of balance patches too. My the race that I play, monsters are they're getting they're getting a lot of stuff. Like I because I hate mirror matches more so than playing a bad class. I hate playing against the same class. I hate mirror matches, and I'm getting the impression that monsters are probably going to be the most popular class after this
Mm-hmm.
patch hits.
Mm-hmm.
But I digress. The Nilfgaard patch is coming, and Nilfgaard's big thing. They've got a couple of archetypes that people are trying to work. Obviously, it's still early. People are trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. But
Mm-hmm.
based on their heroes, the two types of archetypes that people are trying to run right now are the disloyal archetype, because they have one hero whose hero power is that he brings back every disloyal he brings back 3 disloyal units from the opponent's side of the board and puts it on your side. So
All
you
right.
can play like a spy, get the benefit of the spy, and then use your hero ability to get the spy back on your side of the board.
Oh wow.
There's a lot. They have a lot of disloyal. They've got so many disloyal units, so that's part of. So that's one archetype, and then the other archetype, and the one that's intriguing me the most, is the reveal archetype, because they have a bunch of cards that reveal cards in your opponent's hands.
Ooh, that would be very useful.
Yeah. So one of the reasons why it took Nilfgaard so long to come out was because they were having issues balancing that ability. I can imagine that would be a very difficult ability to
Well, it's
balance.
such a strong ability. Knowing what your opponent has in your hand completely changes so many different things. Because it's like, oh, he's got that counter spell, right? Well, I guess I'm just going to not play my super powerful spell right now. Like like that's what I mean. It's such a powerful ability to have.
It's a really powerful ability, and we'll see how it goes. I was watching a bunch of gameplay, and the people who are playing Nilfgaard were getting wrecked. So maybe Nilfgaard is the new Sombra that seems really powerful on paper, but isn't as strong in practice.
Right.
But I'm definitely looking forward to checking them out. The one really, really disappointing thing is that Charles Dance, who is the voice of Amirs in The Witcher 3, is not voicing him in the standalone Gwent game. And, for some of our listeners might know Charles Dance as the voice of Tywin Lannister, from Game of Thrones. That man has an amazing voice. Like, he's got such... his voice is so cool. And I was looking forward to hearing his voice every single time I used the Nilfgaardian hero power. So I'm really disappointed that will not be the case.
It's money. It's money, man.
All in all, exciting stuff. There's also a bunch of new cards for the other classes and some other slight changes here and there. But yeah, excited. I am definitely because I haven't been playing a lot of Gwent because you know how it is once you find out that there's new stuff coming. It's just first of all I have a lot of scraps. So I wanted to craft a new deck, but I'm like I'm gonna have to wait until the patch hits because I'm not gonna craft a deck and then find out the deck is nerfed after I've crafted it.
Right, yeah.
And sure enough, the deck I was planning on crafting got nerfed to shit. So, dodged the bullet on that bad boy, and looking forward to the Nilfgaard patch on Monday.
Oh, that's a good dodge then, I have to admit, because God knows how painful that would be, where it's like, alright, I finally saved up all my resources, time to build the deck I want, oh fuck everything, they just nerfed the deck. Because that's you know what's funny?
Yeah.
That's what happened to Alex with Hearthstone. Alex really liked the Hunter deck that he had made, and they completely fucked it.
Well, to be fair, in Hearthstone, when a card gets nerfed for like 2 weeks, you can disenchant that card for full dust to avoid this situation. Because I literally stopped playing the game for a week because I was like, I'm tired of playing my one deck. I don't want to craft this new deck because I know this deck is going to get nerfed. And in Hearthstone, if you crafted Leroy and then a week later Leroy gets nerfed, you can disenchant him and you get your full 1600 dust back. So
okay.
I hope when because right now it's in closed beta. I hope when it launches they do something similar
to that.
Obviously they can't do it now because it's in closed beta and they're patching the game like
crazy
every month. But when the game launches and the patches become sparser, I hope they adopt that method as well because I feel like it's just healthier I feel like that's one of those things where everybody wins, But yeah, Nilfgaard coming on. They also said that everybody who applied for a closed beta key before January is going to get a key in the coming weeks.
Nice.
And so it sounds like we're getting closer and closer to open beta, which will mean we're getting closer and closer to launch. So look out for that.
Which is good. All right. Cool stuff. Now, Alexa list, very, very briefly, there is a pre-order trailer for Mass Effect Andromeda. Now, it showed the basic stuff. New amazing armor. Woo, like you can wear, whatever. A new skin for the Nomad. More importantly, they finally showed us a little bit of the multiplayer for this game, which I have been dying to see because I loved the Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. It was one of my favorite things about that game. It was so freaking fantastic and fun to play. And they showed off a couple of really interesting things, because there aren't really many Krogan biotics in the Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, and in this one there is. And it's really, really cool to see like this Krogan biotic just kind of go ham. And the other thing I noticed, which I thought was really cool, it's kind of cool, but I hope that they don't go too crazy with this. It seems like they are going to have some returning maps because the map that they were playing on, I'm pretty sure is a map from 3. Maybe kind of bumped up and looks prettier, but that is a map. I'm pretty sure that's a map from 3 or something similar. I think the biggest difference is that elevation is going to be a big deal. Because it seems like you're going to be able to climb ladders and jetpack up to places and whatnot, And you couldn't really do that in Mass Effect. You couldn't really do that in Mass Effect 3's multiplayer. There were ramps and kind of high points from time to time, but there wasn't really you couldn't jetpack up to a high point, And I think that's going to be a new thing that's going to be in this multiplayer, which is going to be awesome. The other thing that they showed, which I thought was interesting, no missile launcher. at least they didn't show the symbol for the missile launcher. Now, for those who played the Mass Effect multiplayer, the missile launcher was one of the most important items you could use because that was the one shot, one kill item. So basically, if you were getting charged by like three of the they're essentially, you know how in Gears of War there's like Gears of War 3 in particular, there's like horde bosses. You know what I mean? Well, in Mass Effect 3 there were horde bosses. They're essentially like the toughest enemy that you can fight in a wave, and sometimes you would have to fight multiple of them depending on how what wave you're on. And these missile launchers were essentially like a free kill, you know. And they were very useful because sometimes if you're getting chased by like two wraiths that are just teleporting all over the place and like going to like reach up and insta kill you with a melee attack, you've got to have your missile launcher or you've got to run. So I am curious if that's going to make a return or not, because that will change the dynamic of that multiplayer by a whole lot. Overall, it looked really, really cool. It looks like they're also bringing some new abilities to, because some of the abilities that they were using were slightly different or tweaked from 3. They showed off one of my favorite abilities, which is pull, which is basically like, because enemies can take cover, right? So there's an ability in that game essentially where you biotically pull them out of cover so that everyone else can shoot them.
Oh.
And it's so much fun when like you're fighting, there's like a sniper that's hiding in the back, you biotic pull them out of cover, and then everyone just points their guns and shoots it as it's just floating in the air. It's fantastic. So really excited. Not a whole lot to talk about. I'm hoping that we do get some returning maps, but I hope that we do get a bunch of new ones, because there were some maps in that game that I was like, oh, I don't like this map because it's really, really hard to like find good like defense points and stuff like that. And also objectives seem to be making a return, which is good. That was the other thing that Mass Effect 3's Horde mode had that was that I think most Horde modes, it's like you set up your defenses and survive, right? Like that's the basic thing. Well, in Mass Effect 3's Horde mode, there would be every once in a while you would get to like wave 3, and there would like current objective. And your current objective is like you have to go to these certain points, these like data terminals, and activate them. And if you don't do it within a certain time period, you will automatically lose. So what it does is that it makes it not just sit and defend game. Every once in a while, it's like, oh, I've got an objective now. I've got to go hack the data terminals, or oh, I've got to go and escort a drone to a certain location. You know, it kind of mixes it up a bit so that you're not only just shooting people behind cover. And I really hope that they add more objectives, because that was a really fun part of the game. But I've been rambling for a while, but overall, it looks really, really cool. Another thing that is really, really, really cool, Yooka-Laylee has finally gone gold. So that is very good to hear. I have to admit, I feel bad for Yooka-Laylee and Bloodstained, because they've got a lot of pressure on them now, because they need to be slam dunks. They really need to be slam dunks after what Mighty Number 9 did.
Yeah, no, so this is, I was actually just thinking that, we can't, I don't think, maybe I'm overstating, but I don't think it can be overstated the negative effect that, that Mighty Number 9 had on Kickstarter. Now, to be fair, there's still like, I think, what's this game called? Dino Saga is currently having a really, really successful Kickstarter campaign on, Kickstarter. But like, we haven't heard of one of those high-profile, big, successful Kickstarter campaigns ever since Mighty Number 9 crashed and burned. You know, so I feel like Yooka-Laylee and Bloodstained, I feel like there is some added pressure on them. Because remember, maybe this time last year, we were joking about how, once things don't work out for a developer, they just go to Kickstarter to do like a spiritual sequel to whatever. We're like, oh, watch out, Kojima is gonna come to Kickstarter and do like um, plastic shift liquid or something or something like that. And we haven't heard about anything like that in a very long time. So I feel like that, and maybe that's just the like things change. Things change.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's just an element of things changing, or perhaps that is an element of people losing faith in Kickstarter, and that
Mm-hmm.
is, and I feel like the success of Ukulele and Bloodstain will go a long way to washing that
Mm-hmm.
bad taste out of people's mouths.
Yes, I completely agree. Because like that's the thing is that I don't really hate Kickstarter. Kickstarter has created a lot of really good games, and it's helped bring certain developers, put them on the map. So it's a very useful tool for a lot of different reasons. It's unfortunate in that in this particular type of genre where it's like we are the spiritual successor to blank, that particular part of Kickstarter especially has been stained. So it really the pressure is on for these games to come out and kick ass. And I really hope they do because I would love to see Banjo Kazooie come back to form. I would love to see another really solid Castlevania game. Um, I'm a little more interested in Bloodstain than Ukulele, but honestly, I really do hope that they're both really good games. I really do.
Yeah, yeah, same here. So, and then, maybe, if these are successful, then, maybe we'll see. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Shit. We'll see more spiritual successors, is what I was getting
Ah,
at.
okay. Silent
To
Hills.
games that people have been begging for years. But in
Silent
terms of the game itself, it looks pretty good. They picked a good art style, and it doesn't look cheap, which is one of the things that always worries me with certain indie games. That's one of the reasons why a lot of games go for that old school 16-bit look, because you can do that 16-bit look and not look bad. Whereas if you're going for a full-on 3D models on a budget, then every now and then the game will look like a budget game. So
Mm-hmm.
I am glad that this doesn't. I feel the art style lends itself really well,
Really
and
well. Mm-hmm.
yeah, it looks good. Looks very good.
It looks good, and that's the key is that like, and also like particularly it's a good thing where it's like no one could actually play the demo to Mighty Number Nine. It was very hard to actually get access to play the game. So the fact that people have played Bloodstain and say that it's a really good game, and that it feels like a Castlevania game gives me more hope.
Yeah,
Uh,
this is
and
true.
I think the other thing that I think is also key here, don't fuck up your marketing. Please don't fuck up your marketing. Nothing was worse. I was still hopeful with Mighty Number 9 up until that point. When that trailer hit, I fucking gave up. I just gave up completely. I have never seen a trailer make me want to hate a game more than. Oh. Anyway, let's hope the best for Ukulele and Bloodstain. But yeah, cool stuff. Cool stuff. But before we end things up, we got our question of the day from the lovely J Streets.
Shout out to J Street.
Shoutouts to J Streets. And he's asking us, for games like Overwatch that have PC versions and console versions, would it be beneficial for each platform to have its own separate patches / balancing to accommodate the unique controls?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned. It's funny that you list
Yeah.
Overwatch as an example, because Overwatch actually does have different
Mm-hmm.
balancing on PC and consoles. Symmetra and Torbjorn specifically have been tweaked specific for
Yeah.
consoles, because like Torbjorn got a nerf, a 20% nerf to the damage of his turrets
Mm-hmm.
that only applied to consoles. And prior to that nerf, Torbjorn and Symmetra had less. They did less damage because you can't turn as quickly on consoles. The sensitivity is just not as high
Yeah.
as PC. So when you walk into a room full of Symmetra turrets, it takes a console player longer to do a 180 and destroy all the
All the
turrets
turrets.
than a PC Symmetra player. So as a
Exactly.
result, they patch those too. Now, in general, like the patches carry over. Most elements, and the games are not as different as a lot of people like to imply. Um, so in general, the patches are the same, but yeah, there's some slight differences there. So I mean, with that said, I do think that yeah, it is a good idea to, because there's just some things that are different,
Yeah.
like you're not as fast. You're just not as fast as on consoles. So
You're not going to
anything on
have
the
as
PC that
you're
requires
not
you
going to
to
have
be fast
precise
will be
control.
much stronger on consoles.
Like you're not going to have as precise control with a controller as you will with the PC, because PC you have the mouse. You can be as accurate as you possibly can. Now, granted, I don't much care for the controls on PC because I would always rather have a controller in my hand because I feel more comfortable. But I know there's some people where it's like they want that like pinpoint precision with their aim reticle. So no, I completely agree. I feel that like yeah, like some obviously some things, some balancing wise, it can just carry over, just general things. But I do feel like they should accommodate for both, like separately, to a certain extent. Like I feel like the way Overwatch did it, I thought was actually a pretty smart way to do it. Because they really like Torbjorn didn't really need a nerf on PC,
No.
because you can you can be a lot more quicker on the draw, as far as like dealing with the turrets. So yeah, no, I completely agree. I think this is something that this should be happening more often as we have like PC and console releases for games. I mean, I think it more applies to shooters more than anything else.
Yeah. I think shooters. I think shooters are probably the worst offenders in this regard, because you look at something like a fighting game, and sure, you have your fight stick and you have your controller, but I think it's fine. It's fine to have the same balance, because people on a fight stick don't necessarily have as large of an advantage, if any advantage at all, over people playing on the controller. It's more of a matter of preference, whereas mouse versus keyboard, it's hands down. When you're talking about shooters, hands down, it's an advantage for the person on the mouse, period. Like, it's not even debatable.
You can just aim faster. Like, that's really...
You're just much faster. Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's basically, I completely agree. I think that there should be separate patches and balancing. But obviously I do feel like there should obviously be stuff that carries over to both. Like just general design patches that can just carry over to both.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's basically what I'm saying. But anyway, no, good question. Very good question, Jay Streets. And if you got a question, don't forget to leave it in the comment section. And we'll make sure to answer it in the next podcast. And as always, this was your host, William Liberty, and...
Fawwaz Muhammad Yusuf.
And we'll see you guys next time. Take care.